before the mountains were raised, before the oceans found their shores, before the first breath of the first living soul, there was a word. And that word was not written on parchment. It was not carved into stone. That word was alive. 2,000 years ago, in a world broken by empire and pride, in a land where the poor cried out to the sky, that living word chose to be born, not in a palace, not in the court of kings, but in a stable in the cold among the animals, into the arms of a humble woman named Mary. His name was Jesus. And from the very first moment, the universe leaned in to listen. The shepherds in the field saw a light in the sky. They fell to their knees. The wise men from distant lands followed a star for months across deserts and mountains, because something deep in their souls told them something had changed. Something had arrived. Every age has its darkness. Every generation has its despair. In Jesus' time, the Roman Empire crushed the weak beneath its boot. The religious elite had made the temple into a marketplace. The sick were called sinners. The poor were called forgotten. The outcasts were called unclean. And into all of this darkness, a single candle was lit. Not a bonfire, not a lightning bolt, just a candle. A child born in poverty, who would grow up to say words the world had never heard before.
In the beginning was the Word.
In the beginning was the Word. Light of the world, born in the dark.
He came to find and restore.
He came to find and restore us.
Not in power, not in pride,
but in love pure and endless.
but in love pure and endless.
The King who knelt to wash our feet.
To God to wash our feet, the God who made himself helpless.
This is the story of Jesus Christ. Not just a historical figure, not just a religious symbol, but the answer to the deepest question every human soul has ever asked in the dark. Is anyone there?
Is anyone there?
to Jesus with a difficult question. Not a question about law, not a question about ritual, a question about God's heart, about whether God could really love someone who had truly, completely, utterly failed. Jesus answered, not with a sermon, not with a lecture, but with a story. There was a father, he had 2 sons. The younger son was restless, he was burning with a desire to be free, to experience the world, to live life on his own terms. And one day, he did something unthinkable. Father, give me my share of the inheritance, now while you are still alive. In that culture, in that time, that request was the equivalent of saying to your father, I wish you were dead. And the father gave him what he asked for. The son took the money and went to a far country. He spent everything on parties, pleasure, luxury, and excess. He made 1,000 friends when he had money. And when the money ran out, the friends ran out with it. He ended up feeding pigs in a foreign field, starving, alone, ashamed. He had gone from the table of his father to sleeping in the mud. I have sinned against heaven and against my Father. I am no longer worthy to be called his son. But even the servants in my Father's house have more than enough to eat. I will go back, I will say, Father, I am sorry, please. Just make me one of your hired hands. And so he turned around and he walked home, the longest walk of his life. With every step, shame, with every breath, doubt. Will he even open the door? Will he turn me away? Do I even deserve to go back? But the Father had never stopped watching the road. Every single morning, every single evening, his eyes on the horizon. And then one day, while the sun was still far away, the Father's Son, my son, my son, the Father ran. A man of dignity, a man of age, a man with every right to stand at his gate with crossed arms and a cold face. He ran. He threw his arms around the filthy, pig-smelling, broken boy who had shamed his family. And he wept. And he held him. And he would not let go. Father, I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Bring the finest robe, put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. Prepare a feast. We are going to celebrate, Because my son was dead and he is alive again. He was lost and now he is found. Jesus told this story and then he said nothing more, because he didn't need to, because everyone in that crowd understood that the father in the story was not just a father. The father was God. The most common image of God in the history of religion is this: a judge seated high, watching, recording, waiting for you to make a mistake. Jesus came to say, that image is wrong. The real God is the Father on the road, the one who runs, the one who weeps, the one who throws a party when the broken one comes home. Not because the son had earned it, not because the son had cleaned himself up, not because the son had proven himself worthy, but because he was his child, and love does not require perfection. Love requires only that you come home.
You don't have to earn your way back. You don't have to clean your face. Come as you are, just come as you are. There's a father running to embrace.
He saw you from a distance.
He's been watching for your face. All of heaven throws a party
when the lost one finds their
place.
You were dead, but now you're living. You were lost, but now you're found. Turn around and start the journey. Love is already on the ground, running, running, running toward you. Arms wide open, no conditions. Come back home now. This was always your
Position.
2,000 years later, the story still does what it always did. It finds the people who think they've gone too far.
It finds the ones who've made the unforgivable mistake.
It finds the ones who are feeding pigs in a foreign field. And it says, the door is open, the Father is watching the road.
Come home. Jerusalem night. A garden called 𝐆𝐶. The olive trees stood still. The disciples had fallen asleep. And Jesus knelt alone in the dark. Tomorrow was the cross. He knew it. He had known it for years. The path he was walking had always led here, to this garden, to this night, to this choice. He had healed the sick, he had fed the hungry, he had welcomed the outcast, he had spoken truth to power. And the world's response to all of that was to decide he had to die. In a few hours, he would be arrested, his friends would run, he would be beaten, mocked, crowned with thorns and nailed to a cross. And in those final hours, the full weight of every sin, every cruelty, every lie, every act of violence, every broken heart, every moment of darkness from the beginning of humanity to its end would be placed on his shoulders. And he was afraid. Father, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. I don't want this. Father, I am your son. Is there another way? Is there any other way at all? He waited. The silence answered. There was no other way. If humanity was to be reached, if the broken were to be healed, if the lost were to come home, then love would have to go all the way in. Love would have to walk into the darkest place, not from the outside, not with commands, not with power, but from the inside. By becoming the broken thing, by entering the darkness completely, by going all the way down so that no human soul could ever fall to a place where Jesus had not already been.
Father,
Not my will, but yours. Not my will, but yours. Something changed in that garden. The prayer was not answered the way he had hoped. The cup did not pass. The cross was still waiting. But in that moment of surrender, in that moment of saying, not my will, but yours, something eternal shifted. This is perhaps the most important moment in the entire history of the Christian faith. Not the miracles, not the sermons, not the resurrection even. This moment, a human being, fully God and fully man, kneeling in a garden in the dark, afraid and choosing to trust anyway. Every person who has ever prayed a prayer that seemed unanswered, Jesus prayed one too. Every person who has ever been in a dark night with no visible way out, Jesus knelt in that same darkness. Every person who has ever had to choose between what they wanted and what was right, Jesus made that choice. And he chose the harder road, not because it did not hurt, but because love sometimes has to go somewhere it would never choose on its own. In the garden, on his knees, where no one else could see, he prayed a prayer that broke his heart and still said, so be it. Not because the pain was small, not because he did not fear, but because love will always answer when the Father's will is clear. Not my will, but yours be done.
this is prayer ever spoken. Not my will, but yours be done. Even when my heart is broken. This is the road that love must walk. This is the cross that faith must carry.
my will but yours be done.
Love that does not run or tarry.
He rose from the garden.
He rose from the garden.
He wiped the tears from his face. He walked toward the soldiers. He walked toward the cross, not because he had to,
But because he had to.
but because he chose to.
Not my will, but yours be done.
Love that does not want or tarry.
He rose from the buried.
He wiped the tears from his face.
He walked with the soldiers.
He walked toward the cross,
Not because he had to,
but because he chose to.
but because he chose to.
Not my will, but yours be done.
He would help the sick. He had fed the outcasts. He had welcomed the outcast. Till the legend spoken truth to power. And the world's response to all of that was to decide he had to die.
Was to decide he had to die. In a few hours, he would be arrested. His friends would run. He would be beaten, mocked. Mocked. Crowned with thorns and nailed to mock. In the moment of unity. Friday morning, Jerusalem.
He had been awake all night, beaten, mocked, tried. Found innocent 3 times and sentenced to death anyway. Because that is what systems of power do when truth becomes inconvenient. They made him carry the cross through the streets of the city he had loved, past the faces of the people he had fed and healed. Some wept, some jeered, most looked away. They raised the cross, and the man who had said, "Blessed are the meek," hung there. The man who had healed the blind watched through blood-filled eyes as the crowd below mocked him. The man who had said, "Love your enemies," hung next to criminals. "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." He forgave them from the cross while it was happening. Not after the pain stopped. Not after they apologized. Not after they understood what they had done. While it was happening. Forgiveness, not as a reward for repentance, but as a free gift given to people who didn't even realize they needed it. For 6 hours, he hung there. The sky went dark, the earth shook, and in those 6 hours, something was happening that went far beyond the physical suffering. Something cosmic, something that the prophets had pointed toward for thousands of years. Something that every sacrifice in every temple had been a shadow of. The weight of human darkness, all of it, was being absorbed. Not punished onto the guilty, but absorbed by the willing.
Every person who has ever been betrayed, he was betrayed. Every person who has ever been abandoned by their friends, his friends ran.
Every person who has ever been falsely accused, he was falsely accused. Every person who has ever suffered and cried out to God and heard only silence, he cried out to God and heard silence from the cross.
said, my God, why have you forsaken me? My God, why have you forsaken me? He knew what it felt like to be abandoned by heaven, so that no human being ever has to feel completely alone in that place, because he's already been there. And then, after the suffering was complete, he raised his head for the last time.
It is finished.
The temple curtain tore in two from top to bottom. The curtain that had separated humanity from God for centuries, torn, not from the bottom by human hands, but from the top. The separation was over. The door was open, not for the perfect, not for the religious, not for the deserving, for everyone, for anyone who would simply reach through that torn curtain and take the hand already extended on the other side.
They laid him in the darkness, they sealed him behind stone. They thought the story ended with a graveyard and a groan. But love does not end in silence, and truth does not stay dead. For the one who made the morning cannot be kept in a bed of dread. It is finished. The debt has been paid. It is finished. The sacrifice made. Every chain that had bound us, every wall that had crowned us, torn in two on this sacred day. It is finished.
But only the beginning.
It is finished.
The darkness is thinning, for the stone that they rolled across the door cannot hold back the morning in no lies.
They sealed the tomb. The disciples hid in locked rooms. Fear wrapped the whole world in silence.
Friday night, Saturday, and then before dawn, Sunday morning, a woman named Mary Magdalene came to the tomb in the dark. She came to mourn. She came to say goodbye properly. She came because grief sends you to the last place where the person you loved used to be. But the stone was rolled away.
She looked inside.
The tomb was empty. Not robbed empty. Not empty in a way that made sense. Empty in a way that made the air itself feel different. Empty in the way that a chrysalis is empty after the butterfly has left. Mary. One word. Her name. And in the sound of her name, spoken by a voice she recognized, 2,000 years of theology erupted in one garden at one sunrise.
Rabboni.
Teacher.
She ran.
To tell the others.
She's risen.
Not. He has been resurrected.
Something strange has occurred.
Simple, direct, world-shattering. The disciples came. They saw. They could not explain it away. There was no body. There was no grave. And in the days that followed, he appeared to them, ate with them, showed them the wounds in his hands. Not a ghost, not a vision, not a symbol. Him, alive.
The same Jesus who had wept at Lazarus' tomb, who had laughed with the children, who had sat with the broken and the outcast, who had prayed alone in a garden, who had died on a cross, was standing in front of them, breathing, smiling. The Lamb.
What matters. The resurrection was not just a miracle for one man on one morning. 2,000 years ago, if it is true, and billions of people have staked their lives on the belief that it is, then it changes everything. It means that the darkest Friday is not the final word. It means that sealed tombs are not permanent. It means that death, which is the one thing every human being has always been afraid of most, has been answered, not avoided, not denied, not made invisible, answered. Do not be afraid. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go and make disciples of all nations.
Teach them everything I have taught you.
And know this, I am with you always, to the very end of the age. This is the gospel, the good news. Not good advice, not good principles, not a self-improvement program. News. Something happened in history, on a real cross, in a real tomb, on a real Sunday morning. And the implications of what happened reach all the way forward to this very moment, to wherever you are right now, to whatever burden you are carrying. If you are broken, he was broken. If you are afraid, he was afraid in a garden. If you feel abandoned, he cried out to a silent sky. If you are ashamed, he stood in your shame on that cross. If you feel like you've gone too far, the Father is still on the road watching for your return. And if you are simply asking in the quiet of your own heart, is any of this real? Then consider this.
No movement built on a lie has survived 2,000 years. No fabricated story has transformed hundreds of millions of lives across every culture, every language, every era. No invented teacher has made the world's most brilliant philosophers kneel in wonder.
Something happened. Someone came.
And the invitation spoken on every page of the gospel is the same invitation that was extended to the first disciples on the shores of Galilee. Come, follow me, and I will show you who you were made to be. Come, follow me, and I will show you who you were made to be. Come to the water, you who are thirsty. Come to the table, you who have none. Come as you are, broken and worthy, for the feast has been set. And the Father says, come. 2,000 years and the door is still open. 2,000 years and the love is still true. The stone has been rolled, the grave has been broken. The risen one is still looking for you. He is risen, he is risen. Seek the living among the living. All who come with empty hands, he will fill them past imagining. This is the word that walked among us. This is the love that would not quit. This is the Christ, the light, the morning. He is risen, he is risen.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word is still speaking.